Man, it had a lot of good films this year. It had SpiderMan, Godzilla, another Mission Impossible, Wonka. You had a lot of good films this year. All right, let's get started on my top 10 films of 2023. Let's go. What's going on all my movie goers? My name is Jacey from Jacey Flicks, and today I'm going to be giving you my top 10 films of 2023. So before we do get started, just know that I will not be giving any spoilers to any of these movies, just in case you haven't seen them, even if they're on streaming platforms and all that stuff out in Blu-ray, DVD already, all right? Now, another thing to know is that these are just my top 10 films of 2023, so do not get mad in the comments, all right? All right, so the last thing I'm going to ask for you guys before I do get started with number 10 is please make sure you hit that like, subscribe, hit that notification bell to stay up to date on new videos I'm always uploading, all right? So let's get started at number 10. Number 10, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, directed by Christopher McQuarrie, and it stars Tom Cruise, Haley Atwell, Ving Rhames, and more. So Ethan Hunt and the IMF team must track down a terrifying new weapon that threatens all of humanity if it falls into the wrong hands. With control of the future and the fate of the world at stake, a deadly race around the globe begins. Now, it isn't very often that a movie series builds consistency over the years and progressively gets better. Now, with the Mission Impossible films, I feel like they've been doing just that. Adventure and intriguing stories they've been building on. It really has me excited for part 2 when it comes out. I really like this one, you guys. It kept me entertained throughout, and this is why it made it to my number 10 list of this year. All right. Now let's go into number 9. Number 9, They Clone Tyrone, directed by Jewel Taylor and stars John Boyega, Jamie Foxx, Teyonah Parris, and more. A series of eerie events thrusts an unlikely trio into the trail of a nefarious government conspiracy in this pulpy mystery caper. This movie had to have been the most surprising movie of this year. And I'm sure it's going to shock most of you that I put this movie on the list. But it not only captivated me from the moment the plot unravels, but it also made the list because of how original it was. It's not only a conspiracy film, but it also has some thought-provoking themes with the plot and has some funny moments. All 3 central characters do a great job as far as the acting, but they also leave you wanting to find out more about this conspiracy. And I'm excited to see what Joel Taylor, the director, does next with his next film, because I think original films is something he can definitely really excel in. All right, this brings me to number 8. Number 8, Oppenheimer. Directed by Christopher Nolan, stars Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Florence Pugh, and a lot more. The story of an American scientist, J. Robert Oppenheimer, and his role in his development of the atomic bomb in this telling biopic that started the trend of Barbenheimer, as it came out the same weekend as Barbie. I was one of the ones who followed along with the trend, and I saw both films as soon as I could. Particularly, Oppenheimer was the first one that I saw on opening weekend. Not only was the acting superb, but the story is captivating and interesting, even from all the unexpected actors who give guest appearances in the film. It's really a testament to Christopher Nolan and how good his films are, how well they're directed, and how well the stories are. I mean, I love most, if not all, of his films, so I really like this one, although it was a bit too long for me in my opinion, which brings me to number 7. Now, number 7, if you haven't guessed it yet, Barbie, directed by Greta Gerwig and stars Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, Issa Rae, and more. Barbie suffers a crisis that leads her to question her world and her existence. Deeply creative and also entertaining, as Greta Gerwig creates this world that centers you in the heart of a Barbie doll's life. Not only is this film original in its perspective, but it also has a different type of message that you really don't expect by the end. Even from the lens of Ken, played by Ryan Gosling, the cast is amazing in their performances and leaves you wondering what they could do for a part 2, if so. Now, this leads me to number 6. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, directed by James Gunn, stars Chris Pratt, Bradley Cooper, and more. A great wrap-up for the gang and an excellent way to wrap up this trilogy. Still reeling from the loss of Gamora, Peter Quill rallies his team to defend the universe and one of their own, a mission that could mean the end of the Guardians if not successful. James Gunn does a great job at making the stakes greater for our heroes, but also gives us a heartfelt ending to every character in the Guardians that makes their arc worth watching from the last 2 films before. I enjoyed this one, even with Marvel having so many up and downs for the past year or so, and they haven't had much success, but this one really kept me going, and I'm excited to see what James Gunn does for the DC universe pretty soon. Now this leads me to number 5, with number 5 being John Wick Chapter 4, directed by Chad Stahelski and stars Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, Ian McShane, and more. A beautiful send-off to a franchise that has gained my loyal following throughout the years since John Wick has sought out his revenge. This series had me buying a ticket as soon as any of the films premiered. John Wick uncovers a path to defeating the High Table, but before he can earn his freedom, Wick must face off against a new enemy with powerful alliances across the globe and forces that turn old friends into foes. Although 1 or 2 fight scenes a little too long, this Chapter 4 film has top-notch action and entertainment throughout. Not only that, but the reason I put this above Guardians Volume 3 is because I love the ending and what it did for the arc of John Wick and that franchise. Number 4, American Fiction, directed by Cord Jefferson, stars Jeffrey Wright, Tracy Ellis Ross, Issa Rae, Sterling K. Brown, and more. A novelist who's fed up with the establishment profiting from quote-unquote black entertainment uses a pen name to write a book that propels him to the heart of hypocrisy and the madness he claims to disdain. I actually did a full video review of this film. It's up in here somewhere. In case you guys missed it, do make sure you check it out. But this movie really surprised me and I loved it. That's why it made it to my top 5, with it being number 4. It was great for so many reasons and even had me thinking for the next few days that followed. It teaches us about artistry, exploitation in film with race, and a few other different topics that I did not expect. This film is not only well acted, has captivating drama, but also tackles racial and social issues that I don't think I've ever seen in a film before. And that's the reason why it's number 4. This leads me to number 3, with number 3 being Scream 6, directed by Matt Bettinelli Olpin and Tyler Gillette. And it stars Melissa Barrera, Jenna Ortega, Courtney Cox, and more. And the next installment, the survivors of the Ghostface killings leave Woodsboro behind and start a fresh chapter in New York City. Look, guys, I know this one was different with Ghostface not being in Woodsboro and all, but I loved this installment and what they did in New York for the franchise. Although it is unfortunate that Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega won't be returning in the next installment for part 7, I think this film surpassed my expectations, with me being a huge fan of horror slashers, as you can see behind me, and it just made for a fun and entertaining film experience. I had fun with this one and love what they did with being in New York City and even some of the surprises throughout this 6th installment. Now, number two, Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse, directed by Joaquin Dos Santos, Kim Powers, and Justin K. Thompson, and stars Shamik Moore, Haley Steinfeld, Brian Tyree Henry, and more. Miles Morales catapults across the multiverse where he encounters a team of spider people charged with protecting its very existence. When the heroes clash on how to handle a new threat, Miles must redefine what it means to be a hero. It's very rare that a sequel to a highly acclaimed animated film is just as good, if not better. Well, that's true for this one, and I feel like this has been an amazing series so far, you guys. Although it does end in somewhat of a cliffhanger, this film had me excited and super, super hyped for the third installment to hopefully wrap things up for Miles and his story. The voice acting is top notch. And I mean, even parts in the film that I feel like are so detailed that I have to constantly watch over and over again. I love films like that with attention to detail, right? So, of course, I had to put this at number 2 for my top 10 list. Now, before I do reveal my number 1 favorite film of 2023, I do have some honorable mentions for this year as well. One of them being Saw X. I love this installment in the franchise, and currently, so far, this is my favorite Saw movie out of the whole series, and yes, I've seen them all. Next is Megan. Megan really surprised me with giving me that Chucky type of vibes with this robot and how she turns malicious when helping a little girl cope with the loss of her parents. Next is Blue Beetle. Now, Blue Beetle didn't do anything to redefine the superhero world, but I do love what they did for us Latinos, and especially with the culture and really exemplifying what it means to be Latino. I also love the cast, and the family was really, really entertaining. The next one, Last Voyage of the Demeter. I'm a huge fan of the Universal monsters, and especially Dracula. I love how they showed Dracula, how they made him into a monster with this film before even showing his human form. I highly recommend that one. And the last one for my honorable mentions is Thanksgiving. Although it didn't do anything different to switch up the horror slasher genre, I did love what Eli Roth did in making an entertainment slasher for that holiday in particular. All right, so this is the moment you guys have all been waiting for. The number 1 film pick for me of 2023, I feel like, and again, this is my opinion, but number 1 is Godzilla Minus One. Directed by Takashi Yamazaki and stars Minami Hamabi, Ryanosuke Kamiki, Sakura Ando, and more. All right, and I probably butchered those names because I do not know Japanese, but this cast as well as the directing was superb. Post-war Japan is at its lowest point when a new crisis emerges in the form of a giant monster. Baptized in the horrific power of the atomic bomb, this movie was undoubtedly the best Godzilla film that I have seen to date. And I mean it when I say this is my favorite film of 2023. I'm a fan of the Godzilla and Kong films, you guys, but I wasn't expecting this film to not only have an intriguing plot, but also have interesting characters that I was rooting for from the beginning to the end of this film. The acting is great, but I also love the originality of this film and the aspect that Godzilla wasn't the quote-unquote protector of Earth in this film like we are used to seeing him in. It not only showed us how possible it is to balance action with monster films, but also it gave us a look at how versatile Godzilla can be. And it really has me excited for the Monsterverse and what they're going to do with these titans on the next set of films, even if they do make a part 2. Now, there is rumors that the director is going to make a part 2, and I really hope that is so because I cannot wait. I love this film, and I can't wait until it's showing on all streaming platforms. I think I might even get the physical copy if I can. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and here's where I ask you guys, which are your top 10 films of 2023? Did you agree with my list? Did you agree with some of them? Maybe not all of them. Would you have replaced some? And once again, though, these are just my top 10 films of 2023. Again, take it as my perspective and my opinion. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, hit that notification bell to stay up to date on new videos I'm always uploading. My name's JC from Jacey Flicks. Until next time, Happy New Year, and I'm out.